This is Brian with Transparency and Merit. Stoic Calm, it is what it is, not what I like or what you like, but the truth. I think perhaps as many of us grow older, hardcore truths and realities are much easier to accept than when you're young and perhaps idealistic. And maybe you never grow out of that young idealistic phase. Those who think they're fighting for the struggle are the hopeless romantics who think that beautiful girl is going to fall in love with you because you're a good, nice guy, and not with that rugged hellraiser who's not stable, but is better looking than you. Maybe has a little bit more swag. Just the way it is. Not the way I like it, but the way it is. You know, I remember not too long ago, I was watching a TV show. It was an advertisement for the show. I never watched the show, but it was a show where people put lie detector tests on people, and they would get, an amount of money to how honest they were. And there was one woman on there who was asking, they were asking her all kinds of questions, and one of the questions was, if you had a chance to get back with your ex, would you do that? And she said yes. Yes, she would. There's a car honking in the background. I don't know how much you can hear the street. Part of me wants to go and close the window, but part of me is like, you know what? It is what it is. Not what I like. Now we are coming up to an election. And it is what it is. The president may win, the president may lose. The polls are suggesting that he is behind right now. And many believe, even on the side that wants him to win, they're acknowledging these polls are somewhat accurate or fairly accurate. Now, for me, if he does lose, that will mean that the brainwashed, for the most part, I think there's two groups. There's the brainwashed, and there are those who are afraid of the brainwashed. And I'll be honest, I'm a little bit afraid of these brainwashed individuals. I mean, some of them are, they believe that they have a cause, and they will do crazy, kooky things. And to not realize your fear and your anger is kind of ignorant. I mean, I think most of us are under the delusion that we'll live forever. I think those of us who have lost parents, one of the things that the death of a parent, and even worse, probably the death of a child, is that life is not forever. Once I saw my mother die and then my father, it's a stark reality that you will die someday, and you probably, and in the end, you probably won't be remembered. After 1,000 years, no one will remember your name. They won't even say it in passing. You will be completely forgotten. And hell, I'm not saying anything new. Most people know this. A lot of people out there believe in the ego, like there are a lot of people out there, particularly within the political sphere, that have their egos stroked, and they're going to give in to that ego. They're not going to be talked. They're not going to. You're not going to convince them to talk their way out of it. Hell, reality's hard. Hell, I even live I guess, somewhat of a times of a fantasy life, but at some point, want to be knocked out of it into the drones of reality. A lot of things out there that people believe to be true because their ego tells them that it's true, not because it's reality. And sometimes you have to, like if they're your supervisor or they're your parent, particularly if you're over the age of 18 and they can expel you, you have to go along and you can't challenge it. It's kind of what I feel about social media today. Certain things you can't necessarily challenge or talk about too openly. And for, if I were to go out and have open conversations on the street, well, now that there's COVID, I can't do that. But I would be, like if it was over, say, and it, a couple months from now, the whole pandemic is over and people can go out and gather. If I were to speak brutal honesty, maybe about South Africa, about British grooming gangs, and I were to hold a rally for the British girls that are raped by Muslim grooming gangs, I would be met with very hostile resistance and perhaps even violence. And would I be afraid of that violence? Yeah, I would. At my age, when you get knocked unconscious, you get punched in the face or a broken bone, those things don't heal. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, people are afraid of getting beaten up. People are afraid of losing their jobs. People are afraid of losing love. I think some parents are even afraid of losing the love of their children. I think there was a time when parents didn't care whether their children loved them or not. They stuck up for what was right, and that was it. Sometimes even when they were wrong. And it was the children that were more tolerant of their parents. Today, it seems like it's the exact opposite. It's the children that are often tolerant, or the parents that are often tolerant of their children and their silly behavior, and they're kind of giving in to them, not being honest with them because they can't handle it. But it is what it is. Social media companies, people always say they're private companies. I think they're going against the 14th Amendment or the 1964 Civil Rights Act when they banned people from the platforms. I think there is some evidence. It could be listen, guys, if I'm wrong, please tell me why I'm wrong. But I think there's evidence that social media companies helped even create many of these social justice groups that are inflicting our cities with these riots. They're not going to be taken to task, or they may not be taken to task if the powers that be get elected. It is what it is. A lot of times people will vote in tyranny because their ego is supported by that, their selfishness. Hell, man, look, if I were on welfare and I had no skills, I would probably vote the people that subsidize me. Even if I knew it was wrong, I'd probably do it. If my parents were illegal and I was legal, I would vote for the people who supported my parents, even if it was wrong. And I'd look for evidence to support my views. I'd say this isn't my this isn't America's stolen land. How can I be illegal on stolen land? That's a good one. How can anybody be illegal on stolen land? Like the right of conquest? What nation wasn't built by conquest? Does that mean there should be no borders in the United States? And I guess a lot of them believe that. They say, no Trump, no wall, no USA at all. And then they say they're fighting fascism, and they'll have pictures of the American men storming the beaches of Normandy. And it's kind of farcical because, Antifa, particularly who anti-fascist, I mean, the thing is about the people that stormed the beaches of Normandy and fought in World War II, a lot of them also, a couple of years later, were fighting in the hills and valleys of North Korea and in China during the Korean conflict or the Korean War. But it is what it is, not what I like. I want all, of course, I would like everybody to have my thought process and my common sense. But the truth is, that's not going to happen. As much as my ego thinks that I can convince people that my ideals are best, in reality, there are people who you can preach to them the most logical and reasonable stuff that you believe, and they're still going to poo-poo it. And it doesn't matter what words you use, how you use it, they're just going to say, hey, I don't agree. It's kind of like that, the guy who's seeing a girl or has a crush on a girl who maybe she occasionally sees now and then, but she's dating this, this rocker, this biker guy, and you're the head manager at JCPenney and you're a stable guy, and you can offer her a stable living, but she's in love with that, her heart's with that badass. You treat her good, you send her flowers, you tell her how beautiful she is, and the other guy tells her, doesn't tell her any of that stuff. It's just, get back on the bike or someone else will ride it. There's a lot of nuance here. Sometimes the biker guy, if the girl breaks up with him, goes nuts and cries like a bitch. But a lot of times the girl wants the badass and not the stable guy. Same thing with the dude. The dude, the homely homemaker and the sexy home wrecker or the sexy slut. He's going to want that over the homely homemaker because she's better in the sack. And the poor are often going to vote to be taken care of. The immigrant or the immigrant is going to, want his rights, whether they're right or not. And there will be people who will have compassion for that. They won't necessarily have compassion for the citizens. The lawbreaker or the rebel is going to vote for less laws. Egocentrics are probably going to vote for a rebellious society, even though rebellious societies are usually crap. And that's what it looks like to me. It looks like we're voting in, like if the left wins, it looks like this. This is just me putting it out there, that the egocentric, the mob or mobocracy, the bullies who believe that they're right, the fanatical is going to win. And it'll be another thing that you'll have to live under to a degree. They may even have hate speech laws, which is kind of a law, to a degree, it's a law against the truth. Because who determines that? It's very arbitrary. Right now, social media has hate speech laws. And it's actually hate speech laws on different types of facts. And they have conspiracy rules. There are things that are considered a conspiracy that you can't, or if you try to put out evidence that you believe is correct, they'll call it a conspiracy. A lot of things are against you if you're conservative today on social media and in the job place. Because the left is very vindictive and very cruel. And like I said, they seem brainwashed to me, but I certainly could be wrong. And I'm in for open debate on that. I'm in for open discussion. Anyway, like and subscribe. This was just me ranting and saying it is what it is. Maybe I put out some truth, maybe I didn't. And I think a lot of times maybe you should just go out and be honest with people and let the chips fall where they may. Most people aren't out to hurt you, but there are people out there that are out to hurt you and out to get you. I've had a few times where people were out to get me and out to hurt me, just for speaking what I believe to be true. All right, so like and subscribe, and think it's a good show. If you think it's not, tell me why. Tell me how I can improve. All right, thank you, and have a good day.